Yeah, Lions on the prowl, Lions on the prowl. Always putting work, always going wild. Lions on the prowl, Lions on the prowl. Yeah, always putting work, always going wild. Best quarterbacks you ever heard. Get up, Matthew Stafford, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones. They gon' get it in the zone, no matter how they try to fan. Darius Slay gon' get it in. Let Patricia Ball Quinn, making sure our players win. Got a dangerous offensive, they always bring the pain. Talking about that Ricky Wagner, can't forget about TJ Lane. Detroit Lions got it locked. Tim and Jim gon' let you know. This the Lions on the prowl. Come on, time to start the show. Whoa.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Lions on the Prowl. This is episode number 31, and we welcome a stranger back to the show. Welcome back, Maniac Tim.
Oh, it's great to be back, but man, it was great to be at that game Sunday. Shoot.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Tell us about it, Tim.
All right. Well, of course, there's something different. You know, I've been at Lions games before, but, you know, there was just the energy, and it was the atmosphere. I mean, it just seemed like the Lions were destined to win that game.
It does.
Yeah, and I just want that to transfer into the season, though. If a team can get destined to become, winners, to make things happen, and I think that's how a team grows.
Well, when you were at the game, you had an interview with someone at the game. We're going to play that clip right now so that we can get that on the air for it with Charlie. Yes. Yep. Here we are. We'll interview from Tim with Charlie.
Secondary's playing decent. We haven't built a lot of pressure, from what I can see, but when we do, we really capitalize on it. Offensive line, it looks like we could be doing better. The holes aren't opening up. Rodgers is frustrated. Every time they show him on the board, you can tell in his face he's getting frustrated. Crosby's letting him down.
Thank you very much, Charlie.
Thank you very much, as Tim said, Charlie, and thank you very much, Tim, for getting that interview for us.
Yeah, and Charlie rode up on the bus with us. I want to thank American Royal Travel because they're the ones that brought us up there. They go up from Muskegon every year.
Nice.
To see a Lions game.
Nice.
But,
I wish they'd do it more often.
Yeah.
Shout out to American Royal Travel there from Tim. Also, in the game, what did you see from your perspective? I did a show last week about what I thought about the game, watching it at home. What did you see there?
Well, I seen a defense that really was on it, especially at the start of the game, that went ahead and was forcing turnovers, was putting a lot of pressure on, and was not going to be denied. Obviously, if it wouldn't have been for both sides of the ball, we wouldn't have won.
Right.
Because the offense did not score enough on their own. I seen a team that went ahead and we got the touchdown taken away right at first.
Yep.
And they came right back and scored.
Yes, they did.
So it was something that was not going to be denied. Of course, Kenny Galladay. You cannot say enough good things about that guy.
Oh, I think I can.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But, Jim, you were spot on when you picked him as your breakout player of the year.
Yep.
I mean, when you seen what he was doing in practice and in camp, and there's just something about him that brings – Kenny knows how to bring it to a higher level, get things done.
He's fast for his size.
Mm-hmm.
He's running better routes this year. His hands are pretty good, although he dropped a few in preseason, and I think in the first game he dropped a few. But he's a big receiver, 6'5".
Yeah,
he's a combination of Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, in my opinion, because of the fact that he breaks tackles.
Right.
He goes up and gets the ball at the point of the ball at its highest point.
Right.
And I like that about him.
Right.
I think he's an awesome receiver, and he will be the number one receiver for the Lions, I believe.
Yeah. And of course, we had Garrett LeBlanc just went ahead and got the yardage, the first down that we needed,
and 2 touchdowns.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So which is great to have him. I mean, that paying off. Of course, Carry-On did get hurt, but I mean, he was a factor in that game.
I mean, we spoke about this last time we were together.
Right.
About Carry-On Johnson, where he only got 9 carries in this one game.
Yeah.
And I said, watch out because this guy's injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is...
See, you jinx him.
I don't jinx him. I tell you what I see.
I know.
So anyway, stories of this game. There's a couple of different stories I want to get to.
Yeah.
Number 1, the muff punt.
Yeah.
Where it looks like it actually goes off a Lions guy. And I'm a Lions fan, and I'm going to admit 100% I believe that was a bad call. But all you crying, whining, bitching, and moaning Green Bay fans, guess what? If they don't call the touchdown back for a stupid penalty, that play never happens in the first place, and the Lions score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's kind of ticky-tack saying that, we would have won in this, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe in that at all.
Right.
Second point, Mason Crosby, our secret MVP.
Right. We did sign him, at least for one day.
For one day.
we said the one stipulation is you got to keep a Green Bay Packer uniform on and look like you're playing for that team.
Well, he wasn't doing anything for them.
But we didn't like the way he played, so we released him. No.
I've seen a few memes on this, and there was one that said, Mason Crosby just showed up. Did I miss anything? That was one. And then it says, are you Green Bay's place kicker? And Mason Crosby, it's a yes or no, and he's 5 check marks outside the box.
Well, he was wide left and right I don't know. Maybe
like he was driving a semi. Yep. He was wide left and wide right turns. I don't know. He was awful. I mean, just plain garbage in this game. I almost felt sorry for the guy, and if he wasn't wearing a Green Bay uniform, I think I probably would have been sorry, but I was laughing my ass off at this game. But sorry, I was.
Where we were sitting at the game, it was like we were right behind the goalpost.
Yeah.
And, oh, my God, it was like, did that really happen? I mean.
That many times?
Yeah, right. The first time was amazing enough. But then, then you got 3 more replays, basically bonuses.
Yeah, you had 3 more missed field goals.
And then 1 missed extra point.
1 missed extra point. So you left 13 points on the board. And the Green Bay whiners.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know what's funny? If the Lions lose this game and we whine about it, they've won 5 championships and blah, blah, blah. We're better than you and blah, blah, blah. Oh, stop crying and whining. But when they lose... they cry and whine worse than any team I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. They go to the league and all this other stuff, get rules changed and blah, blah, blah. You know what? Take your crying and whining Packers butt and go home.
Yeah. I mean, still, the refs were not calling holding the way they should.
No, but, it wasn't a great called game, but they didn't cost us the game either,
that's true.
I thought they might. They didn't. They helped us.
They didn't. Right.
In some ways.
Yeah.
But... Green Bay fans, here's another thing. If we had scored those 13 points, we would have won the game. Retard. Right. That's retarded.
Yeah. We play. Every team plays differently when you have that big of a lead. And everybody knows the Lions suck at the third quarter.
Right.
I mean, everybody knows that.
Right.
And, of course, you guys still had Aaron Rodgers was really performing. Anytime when he's on the field, that scares a H out of us because that guy can come back. I mean, you guys were able to come back from a very
24-0
deficit against Chicago. But guess what?
Yeah.
You did not do it against us.
No, you didn't.
The Lions brought it to you. We beat you.
I want to go back to this point of the 13 points because it's a very it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
If we get this amount of points, we're going to beat you because you wouldn't have scored. That is stupid.
Right.
Because, to be honest, if they started scoring those points in the first quarter, maybe we don't back off and just run the ball all the time or whatever we were trying to do. It changes the game, and you play the game situationally as to what's happening in the game.
Right.
You don't sit there and play the exact same way if they had scored those points. So everything would have unfolded differently.
Right.
Would 13 points have helped them? Yes. I'm not saying it wouldn't have helped them. I'm not saying they would have won, though.
Right.
Because we still outscored them in this game.
Yeah.
And we might have still outscored them then if we had to score more points.
Yeah.
Also, Tim brought up a good point when we were talking about the show. He said that if Matt Prater doesn't miss that 3 points, we still win.
Right.
So I mean, and all you mathematicians out there might disagree, but I'm telling you, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Right. Every team leaves points on the board. You can't sit here and say that, if we did this and if we did that, well, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. So I'm telling you, ifs and whats and buts and whatever you're talking about doesn't make any freaking sense.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get that out there because I just can't stand it when people do that. The Lions have won 3 games in a row over the Packers. I don't care if you've had Aaron Rodgers. I don't care what the heck the deal is in Green Bay. We are 3-0 against you in the last 3 games.
Yep.
So stop acting like you're so much better than everybody else because you're not.
Yeah. And actually, for the last few years, we have been at least splitting games. It's not been the Green Bay going ahead and dominating the Lions, winning both games.
So breaking down this game, the Lions frustrate Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
The Lions drop 8 people in coverage and make sure that these wide receivers that weren't very experienced, he makes Matt Patricia and the defensive coordinator make sure that he gets frustrated. And I loved it. Yep. I loved it. Coverage sacks. Deshaun Hand has a great game. That Aquara had a great game. Romeo Aquara had a great game. So many different people to mention in this game. So I really thought Devin Kennard played well.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Carry on my wayward son Johnson played well.
Deshaun Hand.
We said that already?
Oh, okay.
Nah, I'm just kidding. We did. We said that already.
Yeah.
But no, Deshaun Hand, he has a strip sack. I mean, he played like a beast too. Mm-hmm. Our problem is the defensive tackles. That's the problem with this team. Mm-hmm. And then a little bit of coverage, maybe linebacker coverage somewhat. But the defensive tackles really hurt this team.
Right.
They're not big enough. I think they're rotational guys. I don't think they're main number ones. And I think that hurts. I really do. I think that hurts. Oh, game ball. Nevin Lawson, you actually turned your head. You must listen to the show.
Right.
Because I've been saying,
somebody teach him to turn his head.
Yeah. That's all he needed to do.
And
he's always right there, and now he batted down a ball. He played really good, and I think he outplayed Darius Slay, which is really weird. But he did. Devontae Adams is not the best receiver in the league, but he used Darius Slay in this game. And that's a little concerning, but I don't know. I mean, everybody has a bad game, I guess, but oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Nevin Lawson showing up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
and they signed him, and we were like, why?
Right.
And now, look, coaching.
Yep.
Matt Patricia.
And, of course, I think we ought to play more number 1 quarterbacks.
Yeah, what the heck, man? What is this team right now?
Right.
This team is they lose to Jimmy Garoppolo, Sam Darnold, and who's the other guy they lost? Oh, Dak Prescott.
Right. Yeah.
Hall of Famers and all.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat Tom Brady
and Aaron Rodgers.
Right. What is this team?
Right.
We're 2-3.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a bye week, so we're going to play Miami next week, not this week, next week. Mm-hmm. So we're in a period of reflection on this team. And I don't know what to make of this team.
Well, I don't know, but I think they're coming together.
If it wasn't for some kind of bad calls and bad play on our part, we could be 4-1 right now. I mean, we only lost to Dallas by 2 points.
2 points, yep, and
three
by San Francisco.
Total loss, 5 points in those 2 games on the road.
Right.
And both games I thought we played well enough to win, but we just didn't.
Yeah.
We left it to the defense in the Dallas game, and they kick a field goal with time running out.
Right.
Your defense should be able to stop somebody.
True.
They couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop. It just drives you nuts. But this team isn't complete yet. And I said that earlier in the year, that this is a rebuilding year for the defense.
Yep.
And I think next year, if we can get one D tackle in free agency and one stud defensive tackle in the draft, it would fix a lot of problems.
Yeah. But definitely true. But I also think that you need them to be playing totally together as a team, where it's, you can go ahead and have all the greatest players, offensive play or all stars at every position.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we don't need those players that you're talking about, but I'm saying they need to perform. They need to not only just be there, but they need to, instead of dropping, instead of like the Golden Tate dropping a pass, or not. I'm not picking on Golden Tate because he's really showing up, especially the last few weeks. But instead of Marvin Jones or Golden Tate or whoever it is dropping the pass, getting the pass, getting those yards.
I'm going to tell you, nobody is going to be perfect,
right?
Because they're all NFL players, and you're playing against the best,
right? Yeah,
it's the best versus the best
right.
almost every week. My thing is, though, this defense, the way it is set up,
right?
It is set up based on those defensive tackles, and I know people are going to, whatever, they're not going to believe me. But I think that if we could stop the run, I'm pretty sure we can stop the pass.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If we had those guys that are a 3-4 system, that was a huge nose tackle, big guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what? Definitely we need that. But we also need, how many times have you seen like big tight end come in and save the day for a New England?
Mm-hmm.
You need that person that's
well,
one of the real
that.
one
I
of
think
the
that's
real
another
knocks.
need.
Yeah. One of the real knocks about Ebron was when we needed him, he didn't produce, he didn't catch.
Right.
And that goes for receivers and everything.
I think that
when the game is on the line, or when you want to keep the drive going, you need to get those points.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I got to say this. How many weapons do you need on offense? I mean, tight ends are have a dual purpose.
Right.
One is blocking. Hold on a second.
Okay. Yep. Hold on.
One is blocking, and one is pass catching, and they're kind of a different thing. I wonder if we're building more tight end at the tight end position for the blocking to increase the running game, rather than putting them out there for the passing game, because we already have Golden Tate, we already have Marvin Jones, we already have Kenny Galladay, we already have Riddick out of the backfield, Kerryon Johnson out of the backfield, LeGarrette Blount out of the backfield. We have so many weapons and so many targets. We need someone to block so that we have lanes open so that we can run the ball.
Right. I ain't saying that we don't have enough weapons. What I'm saying is that we need the weapons to not only to produce, to keep, how many times do we see, when it's like 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 3 where they go ahead and throw a pass and then they drop it.
I've seen that a lot. How many times on first down do you run for no yards?
Right.
It's the silver shoot yourself in the foot offense.
But what I'm just saying that we need to do the offense better, and as far as where the defense needs to be, do things better as far as for like stopping them on 3rd down.
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. These are
things that I agree totally with you on. But I'm also saying that you can't have a perfect team. You're never going to have a perfect game. So when someone makes a mistake, you have to be able to overcome them.
Right.
In the Green Bay game, we did.
Right.
We made mistakes in that game, but we overcame them.
Right.
We withstood a comeback.
Yep.
Where normally we would shoot ourselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's I think they're growing. I'm kind of with you on that.
Right.
I think they're growing. At this point in the show, now usually we just go on and on and on, But at this point in the show, we're going to do the shout-outs, and usually we do that right at the beginning.
Right.
We're going to take a break right now, and we're going to do some shout-outs, and then we're going to go over the injury situation, and we're going to go over a couple of other things that have happened in the NFL that we wanted to get on the show this week. So this week, Tim, why don't you start with your shout-outs?
Okay. Well, my man, Dan Savage, man, he's an admin for the show.
And he does a great job. Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
And, of course, Tim Reardon, man, he is a great guy. From work. From work. And also a great friend. We've been to a couple games together as far as, baseball games. But and it was real great because Tim, man, that was awesome. You texted me when we were at the Lions game. I know you were at home. My last one would be Sarah, yeah. Yep. He's always liking our posts. We really appreciate you for liking our posts, for being a Lions on the Prowl fan. And that goes for the other three. These people listen to our show. These people interact, and we really thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate the interaction. I mean, it's boring sitting there just talking to Tim all the time. He's kind of lame. But, just kidding.
See what I got put up with.
So I got some shout-outs this week. One is Taylor Phillips. He has his own show, and I wanted to recognize that on this show. Because personally, I know this is my belief and Tim's belief as well. We don't believe in that competition thing. We're not out to outdo anyone or be better than anybody else. If you got a podcast out there and you want a shout out on our show, we don't have a problem with that. Taylor Phillips does a good show, and I wanted to shout out his show on our show.
Yeah,
you know, because he's done some things for us too in promotion and things like that. So we appreciate that, bud. Number 2, Mike Quick, another one that shares the show quite a bit. And we appreciate him, too. Shares the show, likes the show, does a lot of that for us. And we really appreciate those people. Michelle Rock Barton, going through a rough time right now. We know that. Big Lions fan, transplanted Lions fan and stuff. Just going through rough times. And we're thinking about you. Just wanted to let you know. And let me see what we got here. That's it on my end, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, of course, there's also Brian. Yeah. He went to the game with me. Craig.
From Craigslist. No, I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
he went to the game also. And Charlie and Jeremy. These were guys that were at the game. We only used Charlie as far as for... they all gave statements except for Jeremy. I don't know. He just kind of I handed him my phone to interview him, and he just froze. But, Jeremy, you're a great Lions fan. You're a great guy, and, man, it's real good to know you. But I wanted to thank these guys because they all were, awesome as far as at the game. And although Brian, he likes to go ahead and get under my skin sometimes because hear him talking to a lot of my friends at work and they're saying, he comes up and say, yeah, Tim was really rooting for Green Bay.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, right, Brian. You know better.
Okay, and more of my shout outs is Maria. Let me see. Big fan of the show.
Yep.
And we appreciate that so much.
Oh, yeah.
What am I saying here? Trying to think. All right, I'm done.
And by the way, we are looking to really create. If you're looking to really become part of the show, and as far as we're forming a group for people that really want to promote the show, be a part of it, back the show. We just need a good name. So we want you guys to name the group.
Yeah, we have Lions on the Prowl. That's our group. That's our Facebook group. But we're talking about a group of raving fans of the show.
Right.
Someone that wants to share it, that wants to, we have admins that do that. We have Dan Savage, the people that we bring up every week that are big fans of the show. We want to be able to create, a group and like a tribe,
right.
like the people that follow our show. We want a name for the people that follow our show. So
Yep.
if you have that name, then send that to us at lionsontheprowl14@gmail.com. You can do that. You can post it in the Facebook group. Those that are in the Facebook group. And I think that's what we want to do. Yeah,
right.
that's where we want to go. Now we're going to switch gears real quick. And I want to talk about something that happened in the NFL this week. It was a player that got injured, William Hayes, defensive player for the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to tackle the quarterback, shifts his weight so that he follows the new stupid rules.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not stupid rules. And he blows out his knee.
Right.
Because you can't hit the quarterback anymore, or you can't put your weight on him or whatever. It's very confusing to me, this rule. My personal thought, because I'm of the older generation, I'm of the generation that believes that football's football and you know what you signed up for, blah, blah, blah. Some of that I am.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, what is the help for the defensive players?
Right.
Where's the rules for the defensive player? What are they supposed to do?
Right. We are in a contact sport, and people, unfortunately, are going to be hurt. You know, you can't go ahead and you're not going to get it's not going to be the same game if you just put a bunch of flags around the quarterback or whoever, and that's the way you count it as being down. Well, unfortunately, people will get hurt. You can protect the players only so much.
Well, that's an interesting point, because like putting flags on the quarterback or something, because if you can't hit him, you can't hit him above the shoulder. You can't hit him below the waist. You got to hit him in one area, and then you can't fall on him with all your weight.
Right.
If you don't hit him precisely right, you're not even going to take him down. Quarterbacks are like 6'3", 6'4", some are 6'5", big guys. It's not like you can just, tackle them easy.
Right. And I know a lot of you long-time Lion fans have really looked at this as far as for like the in the grasp rule.
Grasp.
So how much, if you go ahead and you get a quarterback in the grasp and then he completes that touchdown pass or that first down that you really need, then you feel
need to
cheated.
Defend it. Yeah, you feel cheated.
Right.
So what's the solution? I do want to protect quarterbacks too, but if you want to protect everybody, you can't tackle the quarterback then, because the defensive player has so many things that he has to watch out for. If that quarterback moves 4 inches, it's a bad play, and it's not the defensive player's fault.
Yeah.
So it's really a rough rule for me. I don't like it. I mean, I understand that we need to protect players, but if you're going to do this, you might as well just do two-hand touch.
Right.
This is a contact sport, and it is a rough sport.
Right.
It's tough on the body, and we know that.
Right.
And these quarterbacks are getting bigger. It's not like you can just arm tackle.
Right. And, of course, the quarterbacks and the running backs, when you're in the grasp, you're trying to get out. So you got to use some type of realistic force in order to bring them down.
Exactly.
And you can't always be shifting your way. Like you said, the guy shifted one way and then he blew up his knee. Where's the fairness to him?
Right.
To the defensive
Where's the
player?
protection to him?
Yeah.
You see, I think what's going to happen, and you're seeing this across the NFL already, but I think what's going to start happening, and I've seen it with Detroit a lot, the strip sack.
Yeah.
Grab the guy around the waist, try to get the ball. Try to get him from behind so that you can get the ball. Instead of trying to hit him as hard as you can, which doesn't work anymore. Now you have to do something different.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is when that guy's got his arm in the air, we're trained to slap that ball out so you can go grab the ball. You're seeing that with Aquara did it.
Yeah.
Hand was doing it. I mean, there was actually Aaron Rodgers just threw the ball down and hoped he didn't kill him.
Yeah.
But no, the strip sack I think is going to be a vital part of a defense, but it's hit and miss.
Right.
If you miss, the quarterback can still complete the pass.
Yep.
You got to grab him around the waist, hug him until he's down. I mean, it just sounds horrible. The whole thing sounds terrible.
Right.
But we're in an era, because I'm going to switch gears one more time. We're in an era where concussions are a big, big deal.
Yep.
And we have a concussion to talk about. We have injuries to talk about.
Yep.
So TJ Lang,
Yep.
for those that didn't know, has a concussion.
Yep.
And he's out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether he comes back right away or not, we're not sure.
Right.
We don't know what the prognosis is on any of the guys that we're going to talk about right now in this injury segment that we're going to do. But let me just say this. CTE is a serious thing. You need to protect the quarterback and protect these players from themselves sometimes. I mean, the offensive lineman, TJ Lang. You need to protect them from themselves sometimes. In this situation, I feel like maybe he should think about retiring.
Right.
And I know that Lions fans will be like, oh, no. We need him on the – we do. I totally agree with you. But at what point – because this is honestly just a game. At what point does your life mean more than the game?
Right.
And TJ Lang's went on record saying, hey, I knew what I signed up for. I knew what I was doing when I signed the dotted line for my contract. I know what's expected of me. He's a warrior. He really is. You know? So when you have a history of concussions, and this is a mind-altering thing.
Right.
We've seen it with Junior Seau. We've seen it with other people.
Yep.
Chris Benoit comes to mind in pro wrestling, where he killed his entire family, and it was completely out of character.
Yep.
The thing is, you don't want to lose yourself. And I think that in this case, I don't know. I mean, I don't want him to retire as a fan, but as a person, I think he should.
Yep. Now, as we also look at it too, here we have football throughout high school, pee-wee leagues, all this other stuff. They're not being paid. They're just doing it for the love of the game. And sometimes they get the concussions just as bad as they do in the pros.
Oh, totally agree with you on that. Yeah. It's a very serious topic, and it could really hurt the NFL.
Yeah.
In long term, the injuries could really hurt football.
Yeah, and football as a sport, because I know some parents, they got to be thinking, am I going to let my kid play football?
Right. But you have to think about that in every sport. And every sport is dangerous.
Right.
It just is.
Yeah.
Race car driving is dangerous. Going to the freaking store is dangerous. You get hit by a bus. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could, should, whatever happen, like the Packers scoring 13 points. Yeah. Sorry, I bring that up again. But, yeah, I just think this is a rough situation for all involved.
Right.
It really is. It used to be, back when I was growing up, and when you were growing up, well, when you were growing up, it was the Stone Age, so they just threw rocks and stuff.
No. I'm only
70 years older than I am.
4 years
But anyway,
older.
When we were growing up, football was a tough sport. And there's players like Ronnie Lott.
Right.
That just would crush people from the safety position. You know, big defensive ends, big linemen coming 100 miles an hour at the quarterback.
Yep.
And nowadays, because of concussions, because of what's come out about that, because of CTE, and how people get affected by those injuries long term, we're talking about player safety so much now that I think we've lost something in the game a little bit from the old times. So, I don't know, just a personal opinion. What do you think?
It's like, how do you fix it, though? In reality, if you look at it, there's been a lot of people that have played football, throughout their lives. And it is just a game, but everybody needs to really look at it and say, is it for them?
Right.
Is a risk for, and T.J. Lang has looked at it. He's been on record saying that he knows what he signed up for. But is it the same for these people that were the high schools, colleges,
here's
people
another
that don't
point.
make it to the pros?
There's another point to think about. Is it the family's decision?
Right.
Just because I want to play a sport and I lose my freaking mind,
right?
Is the family going to suffer? Because I want you guys, when you're listening, if you're listening, I want you to watch the movie Concussion. There's a movie with Will Smith called Concussion. You need to see that movie to understand what we're talking about here. Or you probably have, or you probably know what we're talking about. But if you don't, I recommend seeing that movie. It would make things a lot more clear as to what we're talking about and the difficulty that pro football is going to have with this. But I want to get back to our injury situation. We don't want to beat this to death, but I understand. I hope you guys, if you have any questions or what your opinions are, let us know.
Right.
Let us know. So anyway, injury situation. Jamal Agnew, I think he has an ACL tear. They have not confirmed that yet. That's what I saw.
Not, but.
So it's just my eyesight. That's it. So I think that might be that. Also, Ziggy Ansah's still out with a hangnail or whatever's wrong with him. I'm sorry. This just gets to a point where you're like, every year you're hurt. Every year.
Right.
This is like DeAndre Levy all over again.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not saying he's not hurt. I'm not trying to say that. But it's just, okay, if he can't play, retire.
Yeah.
If you can't play, you can't play.
Right.
You can't sign a guy to $17 million this year? And how's he earning that money? He play one game? Right. So we've paid him that much money for one game?
Yep.
And last year he didn't play that much either. He played a few games, and he was effective at the end of the year. But, really?
Right.
You can't pay that much money for a guy who sits on the bench as much as he does.
You figure that NFL season is only 16 games anyway unless you make the playoffs.
Right.
And, of course, there's preseason. But the games that count.
We had Jamal Agnew.
Yeah.
We had Ziggy Ansah was out. Of course, T.J. Lang was out. Trying to think. Kerryon Johnson with an ankle. I don't think that's serious.
Right.
They're saying that it's, it wasn't a high ankle sprain, which is good.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, what happens with him. I think he's got a bye week. He should be good to go. Tease Tabor got injured. Yeah. I don't know what the severity of that injury was. He was able to walk off the field. So I think it could be okay. I'm not sure about that one. Eli Harold has been injured lately. He did not play this game. We just got a lot of injuries lately. Yeah. At first I was singing the praises of Matt Patricia because of no injuries, and now all of a sudden we're back to Lions football again.
Well, it is a contact sport, so we're going to get injuries, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have quite a few, but we don't have significant, team-altering things, I don't think. So I'm hoping that we will be okay with some of the major ones. T.J. Lang's the big one right now that I'm concerned about. Ziggy Ansah, I don't expect him to play anyway, so it doesn't really matter what happens with him to me. We're doing fine without him, to be honest.
Yep.
I don't think we'll have him next year.
I don't either.
And I think that's a good thing to free up $17 million to pay a defensive tackle.
Yep. And that was one thing that me and Charlie were discussing on the way there. He don't think we're going to have him either.
I think there's going to be a lot of departures this offseason. Golden Tate, I think, is one of them. I also think that, and I've said that the whole season, I haven't changed my mind. If he doesn't get traded at the deadline, Golden Tate, then I think that he's at the end of the season, he's just going to go somewhere else. I also think Ziggy Ansah's in that category. If he wasn't injured, I think we would try to trade him. I don't think we get anything. I don't know if you can trade a franchise player. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, if you guys know, let me know. But yeah, that's some crazy stuff with the injury situation. Now, ending the show, we got about 5 minutes left. Tim has an interview coming up that we're going to add on to the end of the show with a Green Bay Packer fan. This was before the show started.
Right.
So we have that. It's going to be a special segment right after the show, after we're done. So I'm going to let you guys know that we have an extra special portion at the end of the show today because of the trip and being able to interview people and stuff like that. And Tim's really good at that, so we're give him
Yep. And this was Fred Decker. We actually did this interview before the game, so he gives us his takes on what he thinks the game is going to be like.
So Fred is still happy at this point.
Yep. And
God, we hate to disappoint you, but no, we don't. But because he's a Green Bay Packer fan. He was a Green Bay. Yeah. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yep.
But I don't know. I thoughts on Miami? I'm not going there quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
Miami's 3-2. They were 3-0. All of a sudden, they're 3-2.
Right.
Thoughts on our team? I think we're underrated. I think they're overrated.
Right.
So I think that should be a better game than what people think. It's in Miami, and that's a tough game. I have not went back and forth on this one. I'm picking Miami.
I'm picking the Lions.
Yeah. And I'm glad, because I hope they win. But boy, the Lions, I want to see them win this game.
Yeah.
I do, because it would prove to me they're not the same old Lions. Because the same old Lions beat New England and then lose to the Cowboys.
Right.
I want them to go to Miami and beat Miami because this is something new.
Yeah.
Because after a bye week, we're usually terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but we are. Maybe they drink too much or something over that break, but I'm telling you, they're awful after a bye week. Usually. Look it up.
Right.
They're not very good after a bye week. Also, they're not very good on the road, which last year you were saying they were, and you're right, but this year kind of played out the same way I see them as normal. That says same old Lions.
Right.
I don't want this same old Lions thing anymore. We have to break out of that mold.
Right.
And to break out of that mold, we need to beat Miami.
Yeah. Yep.
Do I think we're going to do it? No, I don't. I don't know, because I don't have faith in this team yet. I see signs of things that are going well. I see signs of a running game. I see signs of a defense that, they might be okay, But I don't have the confidence to say that we can go off this bye week, go on the road, and beat Miami. Just don't.
Obviously.
Good comeback, Tim.
Yeah, obviously. But see, I feel that my Lions, as well as your guys' Lions, is going to step it up. They're going to go ahead and just kick Miami's butt. I don't think it's going to be a close game.
Nice.
I think they're going to come up and because I think they're going to be looking at this. Hey, we need to prove it. We need to bring it.
Okay. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Lions lose, and I think they shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, sorry. That's what I think. And you know what, guys? I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, I hate my team." I love my team, but I'm being realistic, and I don't want you to think I'm not a fan because I criticize the team. I'll criticize the team when I want to because I'm a fan. I do love my team, but I don't love my team to the point that I can't see the flaws in my team. That I got like these rose-colored glasses on or Lions-colored Honolulu blue glasses on that I can never see a problem with this team. I see problems. That doesn't mean that they're going to lose every single game or whatever. It just means that I don't think they're at that point, and I think they're making steps. I think they're making baby steps towards a contending team. We need to give it some time, folks. And I don't want you to be terribly disappointed if we do lose. Because you know what? That's a growing process with this new coach, this new system, the new defense. And I unfortunately think we don't have the players for that defense either. But we have like 30 seconds left in the show. So we're going to go to that interview with Tim right now. And I want you to have a wonderful week.
All right. Yep. Have a wonderful week. And welcome, Fred.
Welcome, Fred.
Maniac Tim here with Fred Decker. Unfortunately, guys, he is a Green Bay Packer fan. We're going to go over some questions on how he feels about the game against the Lions, his predictions, and how he became such a fan of a hated team. No.
Yeah, it really is hard living in Michigan and being a Packers fan. There's not many of us walking around here. I mean, shoot, I see more Bears fans than I do Packers fans, and that's kind of disgusting to me, but I mean, but that's okay because we like the Bears too, but just bottom of the barrel stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how I became a Packers fan back in, like, I don't know, 4th or 5th grade when I started playing and showing interest in football. My brother gave me a Green Bay Packers football, and I really didn't have a team or anybody that I watched. Nobody in the house watched the Lions. And after I got that football, I started watching the Packers on TV, seeing Brett Favre. And, I mean, after that, I just couldn't help but keep being a fan of the Packers. But I will always show my support for the Lions when they are not playing each other.
Well, you kind of gave me a little note the other day, which was just kind of a little fun. You said, Lions suck. But,
no, the best part about that is how many times you had to unfold it to get to that.
But that's because, it's just because. Okay, so what do you think the strength of the Lions and the strength of the Packers are? And how do you think it's going to affect the game? We'll go with the offensive strengths of each right now, and then we'll do the defensive strengths.
I mean, offensively for the Lions, things you got to worry about is Matthew Stafford can really throw it anywhere, but, I mean, it's questionable how he's feeling on the field this year, but I always worry when we face him because he's just got a cannon on him, and then he's got receivers like Golden Tate who can just glue to the ball, so there's that to worry about. Over on the Packers side, though, we acquired Jimmy Graham, and everybody knows everybody knows our main strength, Aaron Rodgers. When healthy, I mean, he can throw it literally anywhere. I mean, you want to go up to the top of the stands, he could probably hit you up there too. It doesn't really matter. But I mean, hit that combination. We got Devontae Adams is still developing. So I mean, at this point, I think they're really growing together as a team. Got some of the receiving core is more matured now than they were in the past years. So I feel like we're going to see a better chemistry throughout the year with them guys. But I honestly think it's going to be a close game.
Okay, well, there's one thing that you kind of probably left out because it's just starting to develop in the Lions this year. And we've seen a lot of it improving in the last couple games. It's the Detroit Lions running game with, of course, Kerryon Johnson. My partner's name, Kerryon Bag Johnson. That's what Jim calls him. And also Garrett LeBlanc. How do you think the Packers are going to be able to stop these two?
I mean, Green Bay has always been well with stopping the run better than off the pass. I feel like the past few years our secondary has not been the greatest, so I really feel a little bit more confident in stopping the run game than I do the passing game. But then again, I haven't been able to catch many full games this year, only highlights because I've been stuck here. But, you know, I do worry about Blount because he runs everywhere and he runs hard and he hits hard. So, I mean, he's a tough guy to stop. And I still think, though, that the offensive side passing is going to be the threat.
Well, we all know that Lions can pass with, of course, like you say, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones.
Kenny Galladay. He has really stepped up this year. It being at Ford Field, do you think that's going to have any effect, on the game rather than it being at Lambeau Field?
Yeah, from a fan perspective, honestly, I think it matters a lot. But on the field, I really don't think the Packers are too worried. It almost probably feels like a second home at this point. You know what I mean? They've got to be a little comfortable going there. And I'd say the same about the Lions going to Lambeau. But because we always get these close games out of Ford Field, and it just seems like they're really comfortable at each other's home stadiums.
Well, except like at the end of the year when the Lions do play at Lambeau, it does. Of course, and it will be at the end of the year this year when the Lions will have their rematch with Green Bay, and it will be at Lambeau Field, cold weather. Lions being a dome team, it doesn't always work well for them.
Last year you guys got the first win at Lambeau, and I don't even remember how many years it said. 30
Actually,
plus.
it was the year before.
That was it the year before?
It was the year before that we got the first win.
That is correct.
Yep.
That is correct.
Right, because Aaron Rodgers was with you that year. But last year was actually the only time in a long time that but it was without your best player, Aaron Rodgers. The Lions did beat you guys, beat Green Bay twice.
Back then I really got to pay a lot more attention. I had more time to watch the games a little bit closer, pay attention to stats. I wish I had that kind of time now.
Right.
Yeah, between the Mustangs and being here at work,
Yeah, and of course, the Mustangs. I know on our podcast, you hear me talk a lot about the Mustangs. It's a minor football league, and we definitely have a team here in Muskegon. Although we're at work now, so so it's not. We're not in Muskegon right at the moment. Well, any questions for me?
How exactly do you feel about this weekend's game? You're coming off a loss. Green Bay's coming off with positive energy from this win. Granted, Aaron Rodgers isn't the happiest with it. A win is a win, and it carries positive energy. So how do you feel that's going to affect you guys?
Well, I think that if the Lions come out and just really, from the get-go, just go ahead and concentrate on scoring. A lot of times you can use a bad thing and turn it into a good thing. The loss against Dallas, which definitely was a loss. You got to give some of the credit to Mr. Official. Hopefully the officials don't go ahead and affect this game.
I hope not. I hope the penalties for both sides stay at a very minimum, because I hate after games hearing, penalties. But in the Lions case, there's a lot of screw-overs. It's almost unreal.
Yeah. But I really think the Lions are going to come out ready to really win, and they're going to put the energy in the play. That's how I think. I don't see it being a blowout, but if the Lions blow out, we all know that both of the teams that we got here, both of the quarterbacks are really, really great at comebacks.
Yeah. Rodgers to Rodgers.
Yep.
Stafford's injury throw.
Right. And there's just, even the miracle comeback against the Bears this year. You know, the Bears were really handing
beautiful.
The Bears were really handing it to the Packers.
Have you ever seen the picture? I do not know either of the fellows' name. What is it? Trubisky, is that their quarterback? He had a fellow wide open right up the middle. And, I mean, just, it looks like the Red Sea is parted, man. I don't know how he didn't complete this pass. 5-yard loss. What in the world are you guys doing, Bears?
But I'm not a Bears fan, okay? I'm not. But unfortunately, the Bears are at the top of the NFC North. Yeah. Of course, there's still a lot of time. And the Bears go ahead and took from this game, they said, we only lost by 3 points. Okay, true. They only lost by 3 points to you guys in the full game. But as far as for the second half, they lost by a lot more than 3 points. And they embarrassingly let a great lead, come back. Let a great lead come back and fall to the roadside because basically they didn't just keep on piling on the scoring. They let injured Aaron Rodgers come back and beat him. You know, there's in our show we have always, in some ways I believe, you give Stafford the two that Aaron Rodgers has had. I think in some ways Stafford might be better in some ways, but there's no arguing the miracle comebacks that Aaron has produced. But Stafford overall has more comebacks as far as, you know, than just about anybody in recent history, and that's because they gotta come back a lot more.
Yeah. And see, earlier you said something about if they focus on scoring. I think they also need to really, really focus on defending.
Oh, yeah.
Because if they don't score points, they don't need to worry about running up the score. They could have 7 points if they have the best defense in the world.
Right. But see, the Lions play with a bend but don't break defense. And also, we all know where the Lions are going the way of the Patriots. The Patriots have a game where they go ahead and, in order for their defense to score, in order for the defense to win, there needs to be a lot of high scoring.
Right.
So, I hate to bend but don't break because if you're not great at it, it breaks. And it's always going to set you into field goal range, too. Because you let people get down the field.
To points.
Yeah. So you got to have a potent offense in order to do it, in order to make it run successfully.
I think they need to change their motto then.
Yeah.
On the defense a little bit.
But unfortunately, this is a new defense. This is Matt Patricia's defense that he brought in. So this is what we're stuck with. This is the way of the future. I don't agree with the bend but don't break defense. Now for my interview, part 2 with Fred Decker.
Hey Fred, now what do you think about the defenses of the two teams and how they're going to play out in Sunday's game?
I think we're pretty sharp off the corners, so I mean, off the edge, so that'll really help us in the game if we can put pressure on Stafford. But if we can't get the pressure to him, I think we're going to have a long day with long passes down the field and even short-range passes. Like on the slant routes, we'll probably get burned if we can't get to him, because he can throw quick and he's got a crazy arm. But I feel like if we get good pressure, overall our secondary is pretty good. So I don't think we'd have to worry if we had an even amount of effort by all sides of the defense. So
Okay, so which is stronger, your defense against the run or your defense against the pass?
This week I'd say our run defense would probably be better, simply because Stafford seems to know how to throw against us a little bit more. So I feel like we'll have an easier time with these running backs that are adjusting, like Blount. But he is also experienced, so I mean that could go both ways as well. I just feel it's going to be easier to stop him on this Lions squad than it would have been on the Patriots towards the end of the year last year.
Okay, now one thing that, of course, we all know that TJ Lang came from you guys, former Packer. Now he might be able to give some insight as far as to how to actually work against you guys. You know, work against the Packers. Now, since he's played, everybody that trades from a team has some type of former, knowledge. Yeah. So that could really help the Lions.
It could. But I don't know. It's been a while since he's been with us. I'm sure a lot of our schemes and calls have changed, so I don't think that he has that much of an edge on us as much as he did when he first got traded.
Okay, and now one thing the Lions have done well in the past games, except for maybe even in the games against the Jets, is they have had sacks.
That's another thing that worries me about Sunday, is we don't want Aaron Rodgers touched, and we know that the Lions right now have a defense that not many quarterbacks are really excited to face. So, and that's one of you guys' strong suits, is putting that into the quarterback's mind from the start of the game, is we are going to try to get to you as much as possible today.
Well, one thing that the Packers have been known for doing is being prepared right from the start of the game. Lions, on the other hand, sometimes they show up at the start, and then sometimes they wait until the third quarter, actually the fourth quarter, to really bring it on. Now, I didn't think that a key from, a real key of the game is really to start out from the beginning. Basically, hit that runs. Lions are going to need to be scoring a lot, I feel, in order to defeat you guys. Because as we were talking before, just amongst ourselves, Aaron Rodgers, along with the Packers, are really good at coming back too, especially against the Lions.
For the backup plan.
Yep. So I think the Lions can't score too many points. It's not necessary. Of course, in the first half, Chicago had you guys whipped in the first game of the year, but Packers went ahead and they came back and they proved that they could come back and win the game. So there's no
Which
score.
Which is comforting to know that if we're down, we're not out. So that's a little bit of gives me more hope on Sundays. If we're down, I don't have to worry as much, because I have a lot of confidence in the Packers, and it's very rarely that they disappoint me when they're at full strength.
How healthy is Aaron Rodgers? I know he was pretty well banged up in the first game, but of course this is game 5?
Being late in his career, I mean, shoot, what do you grade him at this point? If I had to guess, I'd probably say most of the time he's at 80% of what he was in his prime. Not saying that he's far from his prime, but everybody has a peak, And I think he might be on the other side of his peak. And I'd say with the leg injury, he's probably about 70%, you know. Probably not exactly where he would like his leg to be, but he still manages to make it work, still get mobile, and just get his job done.
Okay, this is one question that I do want to ask before we leave, and we'll close with this. Both our quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, have, well, of course, Aaron Rodgers this year signed a enormous contract. Not that he's not worth that money, but
there's no question of whether he's worth the money to pay for it. But I mean, sometimes it makes you wonder, you know, why is, I think I might have mentioned this before, but why isn't he more of like a Tom Brady who, you know, doesn't take the huge, glorious paychecks? I mean, he's still making the money, but he still leaves enough money for the team to get an overall solid team and focus on key points. And I think one of the key points we need to focus in on is our line, because obviously Aaron Rodgers is getting hit too much, or that man needs to drink some milk, because I mean, I don't know what's going on with that body, but whenever he gets touched, man, it's like, oh no, hold your breath.
Yeah, well, of course, he was out most of the year last year because of shoulder injury, right?
Right.
So, and
collarbone.
Yep. So this really, you know, he goes down now. Aaron Rodgers always seems to step up against the Lions. I mean, I hate that, but he does. I mean, it's just, is it the fact you think that he doesn't want to lose against the Lions that may be even embarrassing to him to lose?
That kind of is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're going to end this now. Maniac Tim with Fred Decker signing off.
See you later, guys.
Yeah. All right, bye. Thank you.
And that was the interview with Tim and Fred, and we appreciate them. We hope you enjoyed that, and we will talk to you and see you next week. Have a great week, folks.